and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. Now, this is the first in a 6-part series where we're going to look at the trends that are affecting the way we buy and sell with Ago Cluytens. Ago, thank you so much for joining me in the studio today.
It's great to be here.
Now, in this first programme, we're going to look at the way that sales and marketing has evolved in this current global crisis. So can you first tell us, how has high-end advisory changed in the last few years?
I think the world is selling high-end advisory services, financial services, coaching, consulting, legal, tax advice, and services in general has changed dramatically. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think first off, there's obviously the global economic downturn and the economic context and environment that we're seeing. I think secondly, there is the new emphasis by corporations and by companies on cost containment and looking at everything that's investment, 2-3 times over before they make that investment. I think there's also the I would call it the professionalization of the buying function. I think buyers today are much more prepared, much more process-oriented, and I think much more thorough in the buying process than they were even 5 years ago. And that leads to longer sales cycles. It leads to what I call the stop-start sales cycle, where we may proceed towards a sale for some time, and then we stop, and then decisions need to be made, and then we start again. And it's led to, obviously, some margin pressure if you're selling professional services.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you. How does it affect people who sell in their careers?
Sure. I think in a couple of ways. I think first off, there is more competition. Let's face it. Every day it seems like there, especially if you're on the, if you're a small firm or even an individual selling professional services, you're facing new competitors every single day. To give you an example, I do a lot of work in the markets of management consulting and executive coaching. About 80%, so 4/5 out of all of the executive coaches in the world are in developed markets like Western Europe, the US, and Australia. Those same markets hold only 20% of all clients. So you've got 80% of providers selling to 20% of clients. So that certainly is one thing that we're seeing. We're also seeing a lot of insecurity and a lot of, again, a lot of caution by corporate buyers and by companies who are buying professional services, really looking at every investment decision much more closely.
I see. And what key trends can you see emerging in the next few years?
I think globally speaking, there's probably about 5 key trends that I see. I think first off, the first one is that the line in the sand that was traditionally drawn between sales and marketing is gradually disappearing. Sales and marketing are coming much closer together, and that has certain effects in the way that sales and marketing is being done. The second one is the buyers hold much more power than they used to even 5 years ago. The third one is that I see a lot of providers moving up towards making bigger sales or trying to make bigger sales in bigger segments of the market. And bigger can mean a lot of things. It can mean bigger budgets, bigger clients, but also bigger markets, bigger opportunities. We're also seeing that there's something called the rise, what I like to call the rise of unselling, which is selling is becoming less and less like sales, or the traditional idea of sales that we have, and it's becoming much more like consulting or like high-end advisory services. And then the last of the 5 that I see is really, I think more and more professional services providers are really selling to high-end, senior, C-suite level decision makers.
So lastly, Ago, how can people adapt to this new form of sort of reality?
Sure. I think the first step is always, as always, is to embrace the change and understand and recognize that the world today is no longer the way it was 5 years ago. And also, I think, embrace the fact that it's unlikely to return to the way it was 5 years ago very quickly. The second step is to understand what that means for you as a seller. And by a seller, by the way, I don't just mean those that sell professionally. I mean everybody who sells as part of their job, whether you're a banker, a lawyer, a tax advisor, a consultant, a coach. And so understanding that buyers have more power, understanding that it's more about strategic advisory and delivering value at every step of the process in your interaction with your client, those are some of the things that people can do in order to thrive moving forward.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ago, for your insights today.
You're welcome.
And if you want to catch next week's programme, just click back to the Dukascopy website at the same time. Take care.